We are back. Time for another edition of Carolina Insider Live. Jones and Adam here with you for week 2 of what we're calling our live podcast. Had a lot of fun last week, had great response from you. Thanks so much for watching and having fun with us. So we are going to make this a weekly project here through the at least early portion of the summer and see where we go after that. And Adam, we have a terrific show today. Not only are you and I going to have a lot of fun, we have our BMW social drive coming up later, but we have 2 terrific guests as well. And a reminder, the show brought to you by our friends at Wells Fargo. When our communities need us, Wells Fargo is here to help. And Adam, we need a lot of help, and that is why we have asked these 2 gentlemen to join us this afternoon.
Incredible guests today. These are 2 of the most dominant Carolina student athletes of our time as Tar Heel fans, Jones. Sean May, Dre Bly. When you needed a bucket, you went to Sean May. When you needed a pick, you just threw it anywhere near Dre Bly, and he went up and got it. So, Sean and Dre, thanks so much for giving us some time today.
Glad to do it, guys. Thanks, man.
It's always good to chat with you guys, man.
All right, I'd like to start off with, as Adam said, you guys both achieved at an extraordinarily high level at Carolina. You both went on to success post your Carolina life, but now you're both back here in Chapel Hill. Why was it important for you guys to return to Carolina and to UNC?
Well, I'll go first. Well, Jones, as we always talked about, Carolina had, done so much for me throughout my life, and Coach Brown played an instrumental part of that. And, just me having 5 kids, and, I was forced to sort of get involved in the community, wherever I live, and fell in love with, giving back and mentoring kids and giving back to the game, and just wanted to pursue it, realized that broadcasting, what you guys are doing wasn't my calling, and fell in love with, the mentoring part of what I'm doing, and wanted to pursue it, man, and I'm having a blast. And there's no better place for me than, where I am now, having a chance to come back home and to help get this thing back to what it was when I was in school.
And, for me, it's very similar. You guys know my story. My dad played at Indiana. I always thought I was going to go to Indiana. And when I came to school here, I kind of lost that sense of home and where home was going to be. And it was just a thing for me that the community always accepted me from day one. It was a great place to be while I was in school. When I left to go pro, I came back here because I was finishing up school, trying to get my degree. And when I met my wife, I told her, hey, when I'm done, I'm going to move back to Chapel Hill. And I had talks with Coach about getting involved in the program and getting into coaching. I knew I wanted to be a coach early on. And so as my career winded down, the door opened and I had those conversations with Coach. And for me, it was, I want to help these kids have the same experience that I had, and that's why I do it, and that's why I love the role that I'm in and being able to spend time with these guys and mentor them and make sure they can have, and this university can have an impact on them as it did when I was in school. So it was just the best place, and I couldn't be happier with where I'm at right now.
Having been Tar Heels yourselves, when you're talking to perhaps future Tar Heels, what kind of edge do you think that gives you about telling them, as Sean just said, the kind of impact that Carolina can have and the kind of opportunity they're getting ready to be part of?
I think it gives us a tremendous edge because, everything that we are selling, everything that we are talking about, we've lived it. And that's one of the things I think as former players we bring to coaching, because everything that we're selling, all the experience that comes with being a Tar Heel, all the experience will come with being in Chapel Hill. We've done it all. And so that's the thing for me, as Sean knows as well. When we out here recruiting and making these phone calls, we doing it for Tar Heel Nation. We're doing it for the brotherhood. So, I love to pick up the phone and tell my story, of my fellow teammates, to tell my stories of the fellow Tar Heels that I was in school with, man, because at the end of the day, I feel like if a kid is going to see what it means to be a Tar Heel, there's no better person than us than for those guys to really understand and to see it.
And I agree. And I think when the thing that separates us from a lot of programs is this family stretches apart across all sports. And so even when I was in Charlotte, I'll never forget when I was coming outside the Time Warner Arena, I saw Dre and we chopped it up for 10 or 15 minutes. And I didn't know Dre. Dre didn't know me, but we had this common bond. And I think that when we speak to these kids, it's not only that we played here and that we were good players here, is that Dre played for Mac. I played for Coach Williams. So being able to speak on what it is that you can experience with those coaches, it's not just the mere fact that you played here. It gives us a huge advantage. And I tell people this place isn't for everybody. And and that's kind of the way I approach everything. This place isn't for everybody. It's for the person that wants to be invested, that wants to be ingrained, that wants a sense of community, that wants to help build something special. That's who this place is for, and that's the kids we go after.
Who had more swagger when they played, Dre Bly or Sean May?
No question, Dre Bly. Question.
Dre, how do you get your swagger? Because I do think we all agree you played with that. How do you try and instill that in a young guy right now?
Well, I mentioned the other day in a press conference was the first thing that I wanted to restore, with our guys here was confidence and swag. I tell people this all the time. Because of what Carolina was back when I was coming out, Dean Smith was the guy. I grew up, and I told Sean this, I was a Carolina basketball fan from day one. And that was one of the reasons why, I fell in love with Carolina so fast, is because the complete package that he brought, and then you combine that with what Coach Brown was for us. I mean, it was like a no-brainer for me. But the thing was, because we had Vince Carter and all this elite basketball talent, I wanted to be on the same level with those guys. And so I think, when I tell people, that brought the best out of the Mac Brown teams, when I was here. I wanted to be equally as competitive and as good as some of these guys that Dean Smith was bringing in. So because of that, I think that brought out the best in us. And because of that, we were so confident. And so that's the first thing I feel like we were lacking, Jones, when, the last 4 or 5 years. And that was going to be the first thing I was going to be looking to restore once I got hired.
It's nice, obviously, to be able to talk about the Tar Heel angle, and both of y'all are Tar Heels, and that matters. But Jones and I have both heard young players talk about the coaching and the teaching that both you guys have given them that has made them get better. What's the difference in being able to do it athletically at a high level and being able to explain to someone else how to do it athletically at a high level?
Well, I just think it's all comes from your makeup. As a player, I was very ingrained in the video, and that's how I knew I kind of wanted to go down the path of being a coach. I look at the game from a different lens than a lot of people. One thing I try to do more than anything is I'm never high or never low. I kind of just stay in the middle, and I never really allow myself to get too emotional on any one topic or one situation. And so I think when you're breaking things down to these kids, it's trying to give them the same experiences that you had. And then when you can see something develop, or how to manipulate a pick and roll, or when to duck in, those are the little advantages that will allow a player to stay around for a long time. And for me, because I wasn't the athletic type, I wasn't the guy that was going to run faster than you and jump higher than you. Those things are what I relied on to gain an advantage. And so I always tried to make sure that I had an advantage, whether I knew exactly what you were going to run, I knew your play calls, or I knew all the positions on the floor at the same time. So if coach asked a question, if I knew where you were supposed to be, it helped me know where I'm supposed to be. So those are the little things that I try to give a Garrison Brooks or an Armando Bacot, to try to give them just a little bit of an edge. And coach says, we're going to give you a little bit of information, and then you got to go play. You're here for a reason. You have the talent, and you got to go out there and apply it.
Dre, how about you?
Yeah, I think Sean said it perfectly. I was a guy as well, Jonas. So, I wasn't a guy that, I wasn't the fastest kid. I wasn't the biggest. I feel like the reason why I did as well as I did, obviously, I had a great support system around me, but, I was smart and I was able to study and pick up on certain things, down and distances, splits and, formations. So that's the one thing I knew that I would be able to provide to my cornerbacks, to my defensive backfield. And so, to me, that's something that I can teach, teaching these guys how to study the game, pick up little things that which can give them an edge on game day. And so that's the thing where I thought, me being a former player, that I would be able to bring instantly. And that's been the one thing I've been riding on, man. I don't expect these kids to come in and to do, be who I was, to be what Brian Simmons was. I find what they do well, and I make sure they make sure they major in that. Make sure they do that better than anybody else. And I don't compare them to nobody else, but I'm gonna find what they do well. Make sure that they do that better than anybody else. And then whatever they don't do as well, we're gonna improve in those areas. But that's the way I teach, and that's the way I approach the game.
You guys both work with Hall of Fame head coaches. You have a front row seat. You did as a player and now as an assistant to what makes them so good. So what does make them so good? Sean, I'll start with you and Coach Williams. What is it that makes him an elite level college basketball coach?
I think when you break it down, Coach is so meticulous and paying attention to the details. And I think every successful person at whatever field they are, they're detail oriented. And there's never a beat that Coach misses when it comes to preparation, when it comes to scouting, when it comes to his own team, when it comes to development. He puts a good support system around them, and he lets them work and do their job and entrusts them to do their job well. And the thing that I've noticed more than anything, or I think taken away from just being on his staff, is how meticulous and passionate he is, not only about the details, but he's passionate about going to practice. I think when you see a lot of older coaches, that's the first thing they lose is when they go, like, they don't love to put in the work and put in the time. And he does that better than anybody that I've ever met. And I think that's what's allowed him to have the longevity and the sustainability and the success that he's had. And I'm sure Dre will say the similar things about Coach Brown, just from watching from afar, just how meticulous and detail-oriented he is in his first year coming back, and the things that he was able to do has just been tremendous to watch.
Wait, you were talking about Coach Brown, right? No, you know what? It's funny that you were saying that, Sean, because as you were speaking, man, and obviously, I have a great deal of respect for Coach Roy, a big fan. We Tar Heel brothers, but I do feel like they're very similar. When I talk about Coach Brown and I get to explain, what he means to college football, what he means to University of North Carolina. I tell people, what Roy Williams means to college basketball, what Coach K means to college basketball. That's the impact that, Mack Brown has in the football world. And everything that Sean May said about Coach Roy Williams, the one thing I would say about Mack, and I think in recruiting, you have to be this way. And one of the things I think our guys didn't experience the last 4 or 5 years or so, Mack Brown delivers, man, on everything he says he's going to do. And I think that's important when you dealing with the amount of kids that we dealing with in football. They and some of the neighborhoods that they come from, you got to be able to deliver. And that's the one thing Coach Brown has done better than anybody that I've been around in football. He does everything he says he's going to do. And I think that's very important when you're dealing with 18 and 19, 20-year-old kids, young men. I'm sorry.
Now you're wise, mature Sean May and Dre Bly, and you know all these things about Roy Williams and Mack Brown. Do you remember a time when you were player Sean May or Dre Bly and you made Roy Williams or Mack Brown so mad, or they got so mad at you that there was never any thought that one day I would work with this guy because right now he's really mad at me?
For me, it's easy. There's only one time, and I tried my best to never get yelled at in practice. I tried my best to always, do what they wanted, do what coach wanted. And one time he yelled at me, and I didn't know he was talking to me. And I had I was bent down on the ground, and I was looking away. And he came over and he screamed at me. He said, "Sean, I'm talking to you. Look at me in my eyes when I'm talking to you." And I told my dad after that practice, I said, "Man, I'll never get yelled at again." I was like, he will never yell at me again like that in front of my teammates. And the one thing I will say is I feel like he hadn't yelled at anybody like that since. And ever since I've been back, I'm like, man, yell at Garrison or yell at Armando the same way he did me. But, yeah, that was just one time. And I knew I could always work for Coach, man. We've always had a great relationship. He's like a father figure to me. He's been so instrumental in my life on and off the court. And I'm just very blessed to be able to learn from him while he's still doing his best.
See, I'm actually a little jealous because you said that you only got yelled at once. and the thing, watching from afar, Sean, when I was playing in the league and come back and was there to see our championship run, and I would have never thought that you would do anything that would piss the coach off because you were just you was cool, calm, and like you did everything right. But I would say, Jonas and Adam, I got yelled at so much by Coach Brown. I can't. I mean, there's not one that I will put over the next. As you guys know, I press a lot of buttons, and when I was here and I was a young guy, being from Virginia Beach. But Coach, the one thing I love about Coach was, some people when you get in trouble, they throw you out to the wolves. They don't give you second and third opportunities. And when Coach Brown knows the kind of kid that you are deep down, knowing the family that you come from, Mac is one of those guys that give you a chance, to make it right. And that's the one thing I like to thank Coach for. He didn't throw him out to the wolves the first time I, got in trouble. He gave me a chance to fix it. And that's the one thing I love about Mac. Now, he going to correct you and tell you what you did wrong and make you feel bad, but he gave me a chance to fix it. And I'm so forever grateful for that.
Sean, did you know about Dre Bly? He was a couple years before you at Carolina. Did you know about Dre, or at least who he was when you arrived? I knew you're from Indiana. Did you know Dre at all?
So the crazy thing, man, is it may have been about a month ago, Dre posted something on his Instagram of old highlights of him playing at Carolina. And I commented and I think I shared it on my story. And the reason I did that, man, it was so dope to see him as a Carolina player, because I only knew Dre from the league, and I only knew him because I'm a football fan. I watch NFL football, and so that's where I saw all the Dre highlights, and it was so cool to see him as play at Carolina and how dominant he was. Obviously, we knew the name, and you would hear the stories about how great he was, but I never saw any of the highlights. So I'm gonna need Dre to get the social team over there to put some more packages together for him and get that out on social, because I thought that was pretty dope.
We're not sure. We can't really run that footage anymore, Sean. It was from so long ago. We don't have any machines that can run it really. Dre, why are y'all recruiting so well? We can't talk about individual guys, of course, but in total, why are you guys recruiting so well?
Well, as Sean and I talked about, I think the one thing Coach has done an amazing job. He's put together a staff of former players and guys that have coached that I think we mesh well together. But, we just going out telling our story, man, and telling the experiences that we've had of the ones that's been here or what it means to be a Tar Heel. And that's the one thing, when I was here playing for Mac, over 20-some years ago, we dominated the in-state recruiting. We got the best of the best. And then we went to areas like Virginia, where I'm from, and other areas like South Carolina and Georgia, and got some of the top guys from those areas. And so, that's the footprint of what made Carolina football what it's been. And, we've been able to do that. And all it takes is one piece. Sam Howell was an instrumental part. And I could talk about him because he's a current player, but, I was around him a lot in Charlotte. Him and my oldest boy are good friends, and they played on my baseball team. And so, but that was the key. And once you get one of the top guys in state, it all trickles down. But I'm telling you, man, we rolling. It helps that we do have Carolina basketball because, again, I was a big Carolina basketball fan. But when you have, guys like Sean May and Kendall and Coach Roy Williams, and then you can bring guys in for a weekend for a basketball game and have these guys have a chance to witness, the atmosphere of what it means to be a Tar Heel at a basketball game, and then get the experience, the Franklin Street experience after that, man, it's a done deal. And so it's hard to beat, man. It's so hard to beat, and we're going to take advantage of all the resources that we have.
There was that clip in the first package of Dre taking the interception back for the touchdown against Virginia. I remember when Carolina went to Virginia, I thought I had never seen people as mad at somebody as those Virginia fans were at Dre Bly. And then Sean May went back to Bloomington, and I thought, there's no way I will ever see anybody as mad as those Indiana people are at Sean May. Why did those people get so mad at you, and what was the adrenaline like to be in front of these people who love you, but on this day, they really do not love you?
Yeah, I just think, it's at the time and in the moment, it sucks when you're going through that. But I also think when you take a step back, people are showing that they respect and love you. And at the end of the day, they wanted you to come to their program because you were a good player and they support that program. So for me, it was hard, not personally because they were attacking me. It's because of my dad. My dad was one of the best players to ever play at Indiana. And for him to have to sit in that building and listen to that was hard. And thankfully, I played terrible, one of the worst games I've ever had. We won. So I always have that to go back on, that I've never lost on his home floor. And, you know, that last year he played, they didn't lose either. So we joke about that all the time. But I look back on it now, and in the moment, it wasn't good to live through that. But I look at it as a thing of endearment, that people wanted me, and I was a good enough player that they wanted me to come to their program. But I think looking now and seeing where I'm at now in life, and how happy I am and all that, I think I made the right choice at 18 years old to come to the University of North Carolina.
All right, we got one more thing before we let you guys go. We, of course, have all been leading different style lives here the last few months, spending a lot more time at home, trying to figure out how to work at home, spending a lot more time with the family. Sean, we've got a clip here that we want to show you that you shared on your Instagram that we need some comment on. Let's see if we can roll this now and get your reaction.
A E I O U.
Sean, that's brutal. That's brutal.
It is, man. And every day I'm on TikTok trying to find new things to do with my kids. My oldest, Layla, she's a trooper. She always knows something's coming. And every day, you know, one day it was the water balloons. Another day we did a fruit roll-up challenge. So we just trying to have fun, man, and being around the family. It's a great time. I think right now everyone, you know, is going through a lot with this pandemic, and there's so many people out there fighting the fight for us. But, you know, just being able to be a dad at home, and I know Dre's got 5 kids, so, you know, him being able to be at home and be around your family, it's a special time. And so trying to take advantage of it, and trying to think about it in the best lens. But I definitely have some tricks up my sleeve with some more TikTok videos coming.
Adam, we have come full circle where Sean is playing dad tricks. Sean May, who we saw win a national championship, is playing dad tricks out there. Sean, Dre, thank you guys so much for joining us, man. Always a pleasure to talk to you both. Y'all stay safe. Look forward to seeing you again in person here real soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, again. Sean May, Dre Bly, Adam Quite. I mean, just 2 of the very best ever to do it at Carolina.
Those are 2 of the very best to ever do what they did. Successful at the college level, successful at the professional level. Just a real treat to get to hear from them. No, it's a difficult time, but if it means we get to talk to those guys in that format, it's a lot of fun.
All right, let's get to our BMW Social Drive, brought to you by our friends at the North Carolina BMW dealers, providing legendary performance, exceptional offers, and a premium ownership experience. Test drive the ultimate driving machine today. Adam, we're going to start with a tweet from Myron Metcalf about Harrison Barnes. And Harrison, look at this, holy cow. By the age 30, here in a couple years, Harrison Barnes is going to be near $170 million of career earnings. I think it speaks to both Harrison's ability on the court and who he is off the court that he's been able to stick around so long.
That's a very successful NBA career. Obviously, Harrison Barnes has an Olympic gold medal. He's got an NBA World Championship with the Warriors, and he obviously has been very successful financially. I think what's also important, Harrison Barnes has been willing to give back. Recently had a big contribution to the schools back in his hometown in Iowa. But I think also you have to remember that that's exactly what Roy Williams is trying to recruit, is individuals just like Harrison Barnes who are good basketball players, but also want to be important parts of the community and go out and make a difference. Not just make the money, but also give it back and find a way to make a difference. Harrison's done a great job of that, and he's nowhere close to being done. He's 30. So there's a lot more Harrison Barnes in our future if we're lucky.
Adam, let's give a what up to William Blumberg, senior tennis player at Carolina, named the ITA Senior Player of the Year. William, holy cow, an 8-time All-America for the Tar Heels.
Undefeated in 2020, won a Rammy for Best Male Athlete.
You don't have a
year.
Rammy?
No, I don't, and I never will have a Rammy. That's high praise indeed. He won that for Best Male Athlete in all of the Carolina Athletic Department, so high praise from his peers. Just a great on-court performer, but also somebody who's been really involved off the court, makes a lot of visits to the children's hospitals, involved in all kinds of things. When you think about why do I want to join the Rams Club, why do I want to be part of something like that, support these student athletes, this is the type of student athlete that you want to support because he's done it on the court and off the court his entire 4 years here at Carolina.
Of course, our favorite podcast is the Carolina Insider. Hope you'll listen in. We'll have a new episode coming out tomorrow, by the way. But Adam, there's a podcast called All the Smoke. Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, two NBA players, are the host. Recently, Vince Carter was on. Want to run a clip from that, and then we'll talk about what Vince has to say. Here's a clip of Vince Carter on All the Smoke podcast.
Tradition, but I'm gonna tell you, when I took my visit, I was sold. Like, you walk in that arena and you just look at the history of the banners won, and then just of the jerseys up there. Obviously, Jordan, Worthy, Brad Daugherty, Phil Ford. I mean, it's a laundry list of players, but
Phil.
Yeah, exactly. So, so when I walked in there the first time, it was just like. So I got there that summer. When I took my visit, we're playing pickup, and who was in there? Just imagine. So let me just say, my freshman year, it could have been Jeff McGinnis at the point. I probably played the 2. Stack would have played the 3. Antoine Jameson would have played the 4. Rashid would have been the 5.
My goodness.
Can you imagine that? With Shammond Williams, who played pro. Dante Calabria, who played real quick. Plus Ademola Okulaja. And Serge Wicker.
Y'all the Ed Cota too, didn't you?
But he was like the next year.
He was younger. That's my class.
Yeah,
that's my class.
He was the next year. Like, it's
you, Stackhouse, Rashid, Jeff McGinnis,
and Antoine Jameson as a starting group.
Appreciate that Vince added Serge Wicker there off the bench for the Tar Heels in that group. Adam, that's like the unicorn of the starting 5 that's been talked about through Carolina history. The what might have been, what would have been McGinnis, Carter, Stackhouse, Wallace, Jameson. That's crazy.
First of all, I told Jones if we didn't take All the Smoke as the name for our podcast, that somebody else was going to get it. And it was Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, and that's what happened. Secondly, it's great to see that Vince Carter is just like all the rest of us. And during this time, he's sitting there thinking about, man, what could have been. I like how he said that Dante Calabria played real quick. If you're Vince Carter referring to someone playing real quick, that could be like 6 or 7 years. I mean, he's played 20 in the league, so real quick could be anything. But fun to hear him be just as amazed by that potential lineup as all the rest of us are when we think about it.
Of course, that group ended up okay down the road. That 97 and 98 team went to the Final Four each of those years, led by Vince and Antoine Jameson, Shammond Williams, and others. All right, last thing before we go. If you were with us last week, you may remember that we highlighted Tar Heel track and field assistant coach Dylan Sorensen. He specializes in distance. And for his 30th birthday, he broke the world record for running the mile while dribbling a basketball. He did this in 4 minutes and 37 seconds. So we highlighted that last week. Adam then laid a challenge down for me. Could I run the mile while dribbling a basketball in 8.5 minutes? And Adam, I accepted your challenge. Let's see the footage. Dylan had on some sweet shades. I'm rocking my Top Gun fighter jet style. And my Mr. Goose Honkers has a posse t-shirt. Got the official Carolina Insider clock right there. Stopwatch. Here we go. All right, so I've got 1 mile to go. Obviously gonna dribble the entire time. Everything's going great so far. My handles are pretty impressive right now. This is less fun than I thought it would be. Oh, almost lost the dribble. Somebody's yard jumped out and grabbed it. Unconfirmed, but I'm pretty sure the temperature much higher when I'm doing it than when Dylan did. Getting close. Still dribbling. Like I could be white out here. Here we go. At the end. Let's check the clock, baby. 7:37. Boom. Only 3 minutes behind you, Dylan. I'm coming for you. See you later, Big Rich. I've earned this ice cold Coca-Cola Zero after that, Adam. Adam, please don't make a big deal about this. 7 minutes and 37 seconds. No big deal.
All this technology, this entire media and communications center building was worth it. For that right there. It all built up to that. I've got a few questions. What kind of looks did you get, or are people just used to that in your neighborhood?
Yeah.
Oh, Jones is out dribbling, doing the mile again,
Yeah.
same old thing.
Had to explain it a couple times to some folks walking by that I was doing my best to set a world record and prove you wrong, and they understood immediately when I mentioned that.
Well, and Dylan Sorensen did his world record on a track.
Yeah.
How did you know when you had
Look,
reached
I marked,
the finish
Adam,
line?
I marked it out perfectly. I got the mile. Nobody else saw it. It was just like the pros do when they're breaking a Guinness World Record. I marked it out all by myself and knocked it out. So 7:37.
I don't like to brag, but as long as we're talking about world records, just this week we had a discussion at my house. There is a world record for the longest grape throw that's been caught in the mouth. It's over 350 feet. I'd like to meet the man who threw a grape 350 feet, more than a football field, and then the person who caught it. We did a few test runs at my house.
Yeah.
Nothing like what you did with official markings and things like that. I'm not sure that's doable, but I would like to see someone try.
See if we can get Sam Howell out there. He can throw it and see
A grape?
All right, so we're back next week. We're going to make this a weekly thing, as we mentioned, through the summer, at least this beginning couple of weeks. Having a lot of fun hanging out with you here. We'll have some great guests. Also, don't forget, you can listen to the Carolina Insider podcast. We have a new episode coming out tomorrow. I think you will enjoy it. Thanks so much for being with us. Thanks to Sean and Dre as well for joining us. We'll see you next week here on Carolina Insider Live.